This is breaking, and it's something Americans need to hear right now. Around the world, the United States is no longer seen as the model of democracy it once claimed to be. For decades, Washington told other countries how to run elections, how to uphold human rights, how to structure their economies. But today, the perception from the outside is radically different, and in many cases, it is shocking. From gun laws to healthcare, from democracy to trade policy, the contradictions are impossible to ignore. And the truth is, the rest of the world is paying attention. Let's start with something that sounds unbelievable, yet it's normal in the United States. In some states, a teenager needs parental permission just to check out certain books at the library. But the day that same teenager turns 18, they can buy an AR-15 rifle faster than they can adopt a pet. Around the world, people see this as a game-changing contradiction. The message is clear. Books are a danger, but high-powered firearms are not. That disconnect doesn't just raise eyebrows, it damages America's global credibility. Then there's healthcare. The United States calls itself the richest country on earth, yet millions of people are crowdfunding for insulin, cancer treatment, or even emergency surgeries. A single medical bill can bankrupt a family, and without health insurance, that debt can follow someone for life. To many outside observers, this isn't just unfair, it's unprecedented for a developed nation. Other countries are asking, how can Washington spend more money on its military than the next 10 countries combined, but still claim it can't afford universal health care? Democracy itself is another point of criticism. The United States tells the world it stands for free and fair elections. Yet, at home, millions of convicted felons are stripped of the right to vote. Gerrymandering redraws districts in ways that predetermine results. Polling stations are closed in minority neighborhoods. Voter suppression laws pass under the radar. To many abroad, this looks less like democracy and more like selective participation, where the regime decides who gets to take part. Workers' rights also tell a different story than the official narrative. Most developed nations provide guaranteed paid vacation, universal sick leave, and strong labor protections. In the United States, millions of workers are afraid to take even one day off because missing work could mean losing their job and their health insurance. It's a system designed not to protect labor, but to exploit it. When other governments look at this, they see hypocrisy. America demands labor rights in trade agreements, yet denies them to its own people. Education is another contradiction. Young Americans are told that a college degree is the key to success, yet they graduate with debt so crushing that many will never escape it. For the outside world, this looks less like opportunity and more like a debt trap. Compare that to countries where education is publicly funded or heavily subsidized. Again, the credibility gap widens. And then there is the so-called pro-life position. Many American politicians champion the label, yet they also push for the death penalty in states where wrongful convictions are well documented. Abroad, this isn't seen as moral consistency, it's seen as political theater. Mass shootings reveal another stark divide. In most nations, one mass shooting is enough to spark immediate reform. In the United States, it sparks thoughts and prayers and very little action. To people watching around the world, this cycle is both predictable and shocking. It reinforces the perception that American politics serves special interests, not public safety. On foreign policy, contradictions are everywhere. Washington sanctions some countries for human rights abuses, while selling weapons to others with equally troubling records. That selective outrage doesn't go unnoticed. It creates the perception that American foreign policy is less about values and more about convenience. The global media landscape also plays a role. American news networks chase ratings instead of facts. They turn political crises into entertainment, transforming serious issues into reality TV. For international observers, this undermines trust even further. If the so-called free press is reduced to spectacle, who is left to hold leaders accountable? And then there are trade wars. Donald Trump may be the most visible example, but the truth is bigger than one man. His tariffs and trade barriers sent shockwaves across the globe. He believed the world would climb a wall to be with and like America. But from outside the United States, that looked just as ridiculous as everything else on this list. Many governments learned a lesson. America is no longer a predictable trade partner. All of this builds into a larger picture. The United States is no longer seen as exceptional. Instead, it's seen as a country trapped by contradictions. Wealth without security, democracy without equality, power without accountability. And here is what most Americans dawn to realize. The world doesn't believe you can just vote your way out of this. The problems are structural. They run deeper than party lines or individual leaders. So what happens next? All eyes are now on how America confronts these realities. Will healthcare reform finally emerge? Will gun laws change after the next tragedy? Will voter suppression be challenged in court? The next 48 hours won't decide these questions, but the next decade will, and the rest of the world isn't waiting. Trade alliances are shifting, alternative centers of power are emerging, and U.S. influence is shrinking. This is the moment when perception becomes reality. If Americans ignore how they are seen abroad, they risk losing not just credibility, but the very alliances that hold their global power together. That is the breaking story. If you found this analysis useful, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Stay tuned for more exclusive breakdowns that cut through the noise and go beyond the headlines.